Hey, we're live. Yay!
Welcome. Yay.
Welcome. Look. I'm in study mode right now because I'm updating all my slides because things have changed in such a drastic way. I think you're in study mode too soon, there, Mr.
Yes,
Lair.
yes. I'm going to be doing some training in Minneapolis.
Oh
So
dear. Oh, what an irony! You get to go back to Minneapolis
I get to go back to Minneapolis. It's not
after
as
all
cold,
that.
you know.
You've come for full circle. What are you doing in Minneapolis, by the way?
I'm gonna be training some junior developers. So we're going to talk about Git, and they're fresh out of college. They've not gone out to a client site yet.
Oh,
So
vines to mold,
yes, exactly.
fresh clay.
I'll
It,
hook them up with, a link to our site and say, if you want to just watch some old curmudgeons talk about the cloud and all
yeah.
things cloudy, then
Well. Yeah, it's a good idea because here's the thing: we might impart some wisdom or two that you might want to see.
there you go.
As they say, it's like sometimes my younger daughter just discovered recently. It's like from people donating their old Lego stuff is the older Lego books and instructions and how they built stuff. And unlike the newer ones, which are like sophisticated with all the pieces, you can get your phone and click on it, and you can actually use your phone and do the VR. I want to look at all angles and watch it dynamically come together. So the old ones were like, well, here's a horse, and you're going to make a horse with like 6 pieces. Oh wow,
Right.
that looks like a horse, sorta. Well, yeah. And so she started discovering that. Oh yeah, really? I can do that? It's like a booklet of like 40 or 50, 60 different things you can do with like one set of Legos. And so all
Right.
of a sudden she starts going through it. And mind you, she's 6 and build, and doing all these pieces. So the same thing. It's like right now for you, it'll be like getting a fresh set of Play-Doh. It's like,
Yes, absolutely.
it's that new Play-Doh, not just the smell, but the feel of it. Everything is nice and soft. It's not a little crinkly,
It's
cracky over here. You can actually
no crunchy spots.
no
That's right.
crunchy spots. Oh, okay. Now I'm dating myself here. Okay, yes, but that so actually not so much dating because like again I have the 6-year-old, so I get to experience all that stuff again. So
Sure.
unless I can convince Raquel to like ask for Lego and Play-Doh for Christmas again, I
There's
think
some
you're
really cool Lego sets though. Have you seen the one that's the Mario that actually the TV can play the game? It's a Mario set that
it's a
animates.
Lego set where it
It's a
actually
Lego.
plays.
Yes.
Uh
Yeah.
oh. Okay, I'll let you look that up on the
I'll,
side
I'll
while
look that up and I'll send you a link. Yeah.
we'll send a link and we'll take a look at that because that is very interesting. But speaking of in learning mode, essentially what this is just a learning mode episode. One of the things that happened recently, and we talked about a little bit, was Build, Microsoft's big conference of for developers. And there was developers, and I think I mentioned this last time, who were lamenting that, hey, there's a lot of low-code stuff going on there, not much development stuff, or actually not as much as before. So okay, that's fair, but technically speaking, development of any kind, especially now in the cloud, could be that you're going in there and doing really low-level stuff, or it could be that you're activating a script to do something on a parameter, and it's like, well, I coded it because I put in a formula or something else, and I made it happen. So I've actually coded. Well, it's fair, it's a code, but if for a person that like just say likes the joy of sticking their fingers into like the pieces and making it work, again, playing with the Legos, playing with the
Well,
clay, it is a different experience when it's already done for you, or if it's like
it's
like a
like baking a
Duplo.
cake from a mix, right?
Yes.
I mean that's and man, you can make some great cakes from a mix, but
Yes, you can.
you can also scratch build one, and you get a lot more freedom and a lot more control over all of the pieces.
This is true.
So,
The question is though, with that control comes the responsibility of like, well, if something goes wrong, you were responsible because you had control and you let that go. And I think that was the biggest case. We talk about what is low code exactly. So low code, two things. Low code is essentially, it usually means a visual way of doing something. And
right.
when we say visual, it means that instead of us actually typing in code, we're maybe taking 2 pictures and connecting them together. And what's interesting is that has existed, and we're not talking about Excel because Excel, one of the original low code environments. That's the case of like I'm writing very little instruction to make little things happen. So that's one way of low code. The other one is I'm taking 2 pictures and drawing a line between them and something happens because I did that. You know who used to do that? Next. Remember Next?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs and Next. So, and I remember back in the day, Steve Jobs would go and visit the top CEOs of some big trader groups here in Chicago, and basically we'll take these boxes of things and connect them, and all of a sudden the CEO is presented doing a special report that was emailed to all the people based on a parameter without any, look, man, no hands. I just connected these lines, and automatically once a month the CEO's message will go out to the group.
That's right.
I didn't do much. The concept of what we now see in Flows and Visio and all that stuff, where you essentially, when you connect the pieces and you hit a button, programs come out of that. That is what people think. One of the definitions of low code, the idea that it's taking you a low effort to make something happen, as opposed to a high effort. In other words, writing a lot of stuff. Because I've seen low code with thousands of lines of JSON files.
Yes.
And that's low code, right? Well, how can that be low code if there's like JSON with like massive stuff? Well, let's put it this way. That JSON was generated from a button, that took data out of somewhere, and that's the file that's going in. And all I did before that happened was I said the name of this column is going to be blah, and the source of that column would be blah. I did those two things, hit the button, and I created this quote unquote code, which I now upload to you, which is step 3 in this process. But I did it in 3 steps, as opposed to I went into that JSON and line by line I did that, or I did search replace 1, 2, 3, and then I had to test it. Oh crap! I fat fingered the end of the caret or the semicolon, that sort of stuff. That's the concept, right?
So a lot of what we see and talk about as low code really is just code generation. And there's actual real code that's underneath the surface.
Yeah. So I had my third definition. The starting point of code, especially if you're trying to figure out how much something costs. Like, well, you know what? You did it in low code, but you took 2 months to do that. But I did it in high code, in my code, and I got it done in 2 weeks. How come I'm better than you are? So at this point, it's like, well, and so my stuff must be better than low code. It's like, well, all right. And then, but okay, I can easily say, it's like, all right, here's something I can do in low code in 1, 2, 3, and it's done. Maybe I might demonstrate that in a little bit, but the idea I might, because that's how quick I can do it. But but the idea over there is like, your starting point needs to be the same. That high code person that did something in 2 weeks or less had a good starting point. He probably had a framework ready to go. He probably had like projects that already had stuff done. He had libraries that he was very well versed for, or packages of libraries that were already put together, that were already cleaned up. So all he had to do was bring part together, and literally write maybe a little bit of React code, tiny instruction that said, hello world, fill in your drop down and do all that stuff. If I had to do that in maybe low code, so it does the one thing, and it connects to that service. I had to do that in low code. Well, the low code doesn't have the connector to that particular service. You got to write that from scratch. You need a custom connector. You need permissions to do something. You need to go get a license to get it done. Oh my God, weeks. Essentially, the rabbit suddenly slowed down because of all that stuff. And here's the turtle, slow and steady, won the race because he had all his ducks in a row and all the pieces going. Low code is like that when you have your ducks in a row. If all else being equal, your requirements exactly the same, and your starting point equaling where your starting point is. Oh, I have my framework done for, say, the screen look, the theme, right? Well, okay, in low code, then I need to have the theme over there too, because you're asking me right now to recreate the theme in low code when it wasn't there. And here you got it done because you have a theme generator piece that creates the high code version of the theme. Well, we have that in low code too, but I have to run it. And you're not gonna say that you're better because you ran it and I didn't. That's not the point.
And
you know what I mean?
Here's where it gets fun, right? So someone wrote that in 2 weeks. And it took 2 months to get it done. But now we come back and we say, okay, we want to add a data source. And in low code, it's just click, and you attach it.
Indeed.
And you're done.
And you're done.
It's a lot lower. In the high code, or in the more
traditional
manual
code, as I like to call it.
Traditional code.
Yes.
Right. You have to write a whole new library. You know, you have to build out a whole new set of objects to connect to that, and interface with it, and do all of the authentication, authorization pieces.
Oh,
you get a lot of that for free.
Stop right over there. So here's the case. It's like, even in the high code, I could have created a framework that said, I will handle authentication X and Y, and all you have to do is give me a XML file with your stuff, and I will make this work for you. Great. In other words, I created a low-code environment in the high code. All right. So when you come to ask for maintenance for me, I'm just as fast as the high code, the low code person, because same thing. You would go in there, change your connection parameters. You go over here, change your connection parameters. You're done. Aha. But what if they change the whole authentication scheme because Google decided to do it this way, or Amazon decided to do it this way? All right. Well, over here, oh my gosh, now I have to take the time to do that upgrade, update, and that's going to take however long that takes for me to get that going. In the low code area, the idea over there is somebody else now. Remember, cloud. Somebody else, like a Microsoft or an Amazon or Google or one of these other folks, or the big tools like Mendix or OutSystems or whatever, they're the ones who are looking at the big picture of these kind of changes, the changes in security, the changes in, libraries and formats and everything else, right? They did it. So when you go over there, hey, we have to update to the new way of AWS. Oh, we don't have to do that. It's been done.
It's already been done, right?
Because we saw a roadmap that said, so we will handle the AWS change because it's on our roadmap. It's going to be part of that, right? But meanwhile, I'm over here maintaining a whole bunch of high code stuff. We're like that. Now I actually have to fix that. I got to go in. A big security breach hit out there. Now I have to go into the innards to go fix it for myself. Well, meanwhile, someone else is now in charge of that. Let's just say that it behooved Microsoft, Amazon, or whoever to have fixed that from the lowest level.
Right.
And I should not be the one to have to go in there and make that adjustment. So when you ask me to change the authenticator piece and put it in a parameter, I know it's going to work. As opposed to over here, it may work right away or it may not.
Right. But that's the cloud, right? That's why we do platform as a service. That's what the low code really is. It's code. It's running. It's compute. Really,
yes,
I can't even say compute as a service, right? It's just it's a place for you to run your code, and that platform that you're running it in is automatically updated by somebody else. It's somebody else's problem. So you don't.
Now, here's the thing, though. The catch. The catch is because there's someone else running it and everything else, they need to put you in a place that you can't essentially burn down. Right. And I think I made the reference to Westworld more than once over here, where essentially it's the Wild West town that you set up. They can have their shootout, but then reset overnight, and you get to do it again, right? Minus the robot revolution, of course. But the idea over there is if you build it and you take the time to build all that stuff, you can have essentially very unsafe activity, or how do we say it? Activity that goes to the edge, because there's going to be the boundary. So you attempt to do something that's outside the boundary, the thing will stop you. The license says you can go ahead and do your flow, and like maybe Azure Function will say pay as you go, function. We'll just charge you as you use it. All right. So a Microsoft version of that license, in the case of flow, would say, well, you can have 5,000 a day. After that, you're cut off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because they've already reserved the space for you, which means I have my other people that are already ready. We're fine. We're not going to be messing up with that. Once you hit your limit, you're done. Say, well, what if I want to do more? Well, then you go to Azure, pay as you go, or pay us for another chunk of that. Maybe we'll pay you for another chunk to be able to do it. But the idea is, the caveat, again, remember what they said, you can do whatever you want in the high code area and play with, you're going to, and play as you go. That's all fine and well, but it also means that you're responsible not just for that. The other thing you're responsible for is planning. You have to plan for the maintenance going forward.
Yes.
Not so much the low code. The low code says that somebody else is in charge of that planning for almost all those pieces. And you only have to care about what your thing is doing for your area only. And you're not going to be worried that, oh, I broke it. Oh my gosh, the app broke. I'm not going to bring down the whole Amazon site just because I effed up right over here. It's not going to happen, right? But over there, yeah, I could bring down. I have the power. It's a high code. I have the power to insert, that loop that decides to take down server X through, through X the 100s down because I had the power.
And to kind of, I guess, tie us back to our roots, right? If we talk about cars, right? Do you change your own oil? Right? Do you change your spark plugs? Do you do your own car maintenance? A lot of people do.
Do
and
you
they
build
enjoy
your
it.
own car from scratch?
Right.
How about that?
But
Right.
see, some people will lease a car, right? I don't own a car right now.
Right.
I don't even lease. I just
You rent a car when you need one, or you Uber it. I mean,
Uber.
we'll take it to that farthest extension. The low code is like you're at that level where you're only getting what you need when you need it, and you only need to customize as far as you need to customize. So even the folks that are doing custom car stuff, do you think they go into the metal shop and actually bend all the metal for every piece of car just like they did in all the pieces? Chances are they're getting a kit, or they're getting parts from the different people. I'm going to get a Rolls Royce engine, and I'm going to get a GM body frame for that, and I'm going to build my own supercar from that, right? But they are not themselves going into that low level stuff. And think about it, the high code folks are. When we do that stuff, it's like we are actually working even that low, when we're actually putting stuff together sometimes.
But the process, right? The process of building it is the goal. It's not just getting from place to place.
Indeed.
Like for me, it's I need to go to Manhattan, so I'm going to get on the C train and ride the train. I'm not even going to get in a car.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to use public transport, but my goal is to get from place to place. Other people's goals are different, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Just understand though that you can't measure those two experiences on the same.
Exactly. So if somebody says my goal is to get there in style, well, okay, you've just set your measure in style. So clearly the train is not going to fit in your parameters. And if you try to measure against the train, then you're disingenuous because you just basically put in someone that automatically lost because it's not that parameter. You're going in style, so you're going to tell me what kind of Rolls Royce are you taking. Aha! Now at least we have the balance. It's like, well, no, I'm taking a helicopter. Okay, you've just upped the style, but at least now you're closer to it, right? And now we're going to say it's like, well, was it just style or was time involved? Well, now you have a measure. It took me. I had my beautiful Rolls Royce, but it took me 3 hours to cross the Triborough bridges, right, to get there. Hey, but it took me 15 minutes to scoot over, on the helipad.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So I dropped a link for the Lego Nintendo Entertainment System.
Let's go see it. One moment. I open up my Teams.
I want to roll you back for a second because, again, we're talking about these are Legos. Now we are in a different place than we were back, in the day, because there are a lot of new, very specific components, right, that are built and made up specifically for sets. You don't just have the straight blocks anymore, but it's amazing some of the stuff that you can get, like this, which little Mario runs across the screen. If you scroll down a little bit, or on the left hand side, you can click. There should be, I think there's a video. You turn the crank side, see the crank.
You know what? Let me turn on my sound over here to share sound. All right, here we go. Let's go see.
You can put little Mario on top, and see that's the thing that moves it up and down. There's a control. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Oh my God! Hold on a second. We got to go see this in up. What is that? What? Did I just see that, or was that? That's just
based on what you see.
Well, these are static pictures, so I need to find a video somewhere.
Yeah.
So, here we go. Ready?
Oh, that's a 360.
Okay. Hold on, Raquel. Close your eyes and your ears.
That's just a 360 view of it.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. I was going to say, okay, here we go. We got a video right over here. Let's go see. And do we have sound? I can't tell if there's sound because I don't hear it myself. Oh, you know what? Because it's not coming through my speakers. Stand by.
Don't forget to blow the cartridge off.
Yeah, let me minimize this for just. Let me pause that for just a bit. I'm going to sound because I can't hear it. I'm not sure. I don't think you can hear anything either, right?
No, I cannot.
I'm hearing sound. Where is the sound? Maybe this doesn't have sound. I'll test this in just a moment. Let's go quickly to YouTube. If this is working or not, because there might not be a sound. So let's go. Let's quickly on YouTube. I'm just going to see if I can play the first thing. Hopefully my preference don't show anything nasty. Also, my daughter's listening to a lot of this stuff. Okay. So let's here we go. Let's see if this works. You hear it?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's so smooth. I got to come back to that. That is too smooth. All right. So we know there's sound. So it works. So if there's no sound here, maybe it's just silent.
It could be here.
Or I could look for Mario. What would this be? Maybe it's in YouTube.
There's a YouTube video.
So let me go here in YouTube.
I dropped you a new link.
Oh, you got a link? Okay, here we
go. Hi, I'm LEGO lead designer Jonathan Benning. 2020 marks the 35th anniversary of the original Nintendo Entertainment System, and we're feeling a little nostalgic, which is why we're excited to unveil the new LEGO NES. This incredible brick-built set includes the iconic NES control deck and a retro-style TV that revolutionizes classic 8-bit graphics. Everything will instantly feel familiar to NES fans. From plugging in your controller to loading your favorite game cartridge. And when you're done building, jump into the action on a level of the original Super Mario Bros. Okay. Speaking of Mario, this guy always has a trick up its sleeve, and LEGO Mario from the LEGO Super Mario Starter Course is no different. Just put him on top of the TV and start cranking to truly bring the LEGO NES to life. Now you're playing with power and bricks. We hope you enjoy the new LEGO Nintendo Entertainment System as much as the original NES.
Okay. Applause from the audience.
Okay.
Okay.
But see, so that's like, I know that's
Raquel
weird,
saw that.
A weird cloud flex there, but.
Oh wait, worse. My daughter better not see this. Look, 6+. It actually.
That's the Super Mario. There's a Super Mario Course starter set. Very cool.
Oh man. Oh man.
But
it's too cool.
We're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, right? These sets have become more and more complex, and the instructions that you get with them are more and more complex as we move along. Yes. Same thing with the code that we write. The same thing with the enterprise software that we develop. We have a lot more pieces to choose from, right? And we have a lot more than.
Something's going on. I'm just gonna turn this off here. There we go.
Yeah. But we got a lot more pieces that you have to think about when you're building out something. Okay?
Right.
So it's easier today because we have so many pieces that do so many different things.
Right.
But it's also harder because there are too many pieces. Okay? And that's one of the things that the low code solutions really are all about. They're about hitting that sweet spot of 80%. Yes. They don't do everything. It's not a hammer that you need to, everything has to go to low code.
Yes.
Okay? It's like, I've talked with clients that say, hey, we're going to just use JavaScript from now on, right? We're going to be JavaScript on the front end, Node.js on the back end. Everything's going to be in JavaScript. And that's great. That's a good goal. But anytime you make and draw a line that's that strong, you're going to run into problems. You're going to run into things that JavaScript really just isn't suited for. And maybe you need some Python code.
Oh, okay? There we go. Yep.
Or some Rust or C#. You need some other type of code because it's built specifically for the problem you're trying to solve, instead of trying to solve every problem with the same solution.
What is TypeScript anyway? TypeScript was taken to that level to essentially do what JavaScript was not meant to do on its own. It's like, well, yeah, JavaScript can do that, but here's the way to do it, and it's just very arcane, very hard to maintain. So the TypeScript, you put a piece on it. If you think about it, TypeScript made JavaScript a little less code or more code. Well, in a sense, you could say it's still a high code because you still have to write it. But in a sense, you can say it's low code because instead of writing, and if you ever transpiled, and that's the, by the way, transpiled, it's the act of rewriting the JavaScript from the TypeScript, because TypeScript is not really what's running in the back end. You look at the code, you'll see the difference in size, just alone, right there. So what have you done? You've actually done low code. And maybe like that. Sometimes the high code folks are like, well, we don't do low code. I said, yes, you do. No, we don't. Yes, you do. You do TypeScript? Yeah. Well, you're doing low code. Wait, hold on a second. Do you do scripts? It's like, well, yeah, we have to have scripts to do. You're doing low code. Technically speaking, you've been doing it. And here was the push. Oh, that's it. This thing is making the sound. That's what it was. It was quiet until the very last moment. So now I know who's the culprit over here. So what I'm saying is, like, for a lot of folks, especially for developers, if you're like a hardcore developer listening to us doing the cloud stuff, and you're like, you're more you're very, very blue collar rather than light blue collar like us at this point. Don't fret. This stuff is still for you. You can still be at your level and have at it. Right? There's always room. And here's the thing: low code has its limits. Will always have its limits, just like when we had frameworks, and that's a good example, right? We're going to do JavaScript for everything until they found out what the roof was, and then somebody went on and did a high code way of making that look low code, right?
Yes.
If you go under the covers for TypeScript, TypeScript is what? It's a library somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a library that transpiler that does all that stuff. Well, who did that? What skill level probably did that? Probably JavaScript people probably did very wild and crazy stuff with their stuff. They figured it out. Well, if going up the levels is not for you, how about going into the levels that build it for the front end? So think about this. There's a lot of low code folks that are out there. They need your help. And well, guess what? This is where you can come in. Well, I can't do that anymore because I'm the high code person and you're the low code person. It's like, well, you know what? You're still needed because you need to help build the pieces. That's right. You still need to build the pieces that help the low code folks do it. Right? So same thing. Somebody who was so smart with JavaScript said, hey, I wanted to do this easier, and they made it for themselves, and this is great. That's all fine and well. And then later on in the future, after they've done it, they went away, they made their money and everything else. In the future, the person that's doing this says, well, I don't really like that. I like working at this level over here. Well, guess what? That needs to improve because changes are being made. So the folks at the upper level using that, unless somebody is doing that work, they're going to be stuck in 19 and 20 whatever of their date because nobody is maintaining.
Yeah.
So, we did talk about the fact that all this stuff is mostly open source. So
yes,
you're up to, if you want, you're up to it, you work for it, or your company will say, we're doing our own thing with this and we're going to do it. There's your job.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
You know the history of a little JavaScript program that somebody wrote called asm.js?
The assembler thing. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the heart of WebAssembly. WebAssembly started out as a JavaScript program that somebody wrote.
Right.
To allow you to run assembly language. It's a pseudo assembly language inside a browser.
Right. Oh, well, hold on a second. A high code solution to create via low code a high code solution.
Yeah, a low code. It's a layer. It's turtles all the way down. Is what it is.
Yes.
But if Blazor yes. is able to run in WebAssembly, and that's C# written and then compiled to a transpiler for running within these WebAssembly environments that are basically based on the JavaScript engine.
Right. And wait, hold on a second. JavaScript itself is itself itself sits upon what's going to have to talk to your machine, because at the end of the day, all our devices has to be taught. It's not going to be taught in JavaScript directly. The JavaScript's not going to tell your camera specifically to turn on function X and Y to make this happen. At the very bottom, there is going to be that machine, literally that machine language going to happen. So even JavaScript itself has abstracted and low-coded that way of touching those machines. Otherwise, you'll have zeros and ones everywhere.
And nobody's able to get anything done at that point, right? No. We have these layers of abstraction, and we have to put these layers of abstraction in place.
Indeed.
So it's cool.
It's hey, so we were going to try to. We were originally down our path of learning, so we got some learning stuff over here. The idea of abstraction, and we said this is how it started because of the low-code talk. But we wanted to, I think we showed this last year, but one of the cool things I like about Build and some of these other systems, things that they have, and I don't think Microsoft's the only one that does it, is the concept of the Book of News, where in one place, you get to see what an entire conference, which is hours and hours and hours of material and everything else, is available in one area, right? And the Book of News over here, if you don't see it, you just simply look up Book of News for 2022. But for most of these areas, you'll get through all the pieces that we're looking for. The stuff that interests us now is like stuff in Azure, where they're talking about the open AI service for Azure coming out, Azure Cognitive Service for Language now offers summarization, things like this. This is stuff that affects us.
Right.
We look at this again. There's so much of this, and this is true. Don't feel bad, folks. I mean, like, oh wow, you guys know everything. You can know that stuff comes in. No, frankly, we have to keep up too, right? We have to look for digests and everything else. And anyone who really knows this stuff, they're either that's their job, right? But even then, they're going to be quite focused in what we're doing. If you're going to be at the level that we're sharing everyone to be in, you need to be a bit of a generalist to get out there. And the only way to keep up with it is to have general resources, which is at least gives you the way to find out how to focus in. And look at this. Hey, look, Python SDK.
Python. So I had an interesting conversation with a new colleague about that, because we're looking at how to structure, because I'm going to be teaching for all of these really junior developers. We're talking about structuring a path, right? A success path and a career path for people that are coming from a lot of different areas and coming really at it kind of fresh.
Yes.
So we need to talk about what it takes to move from one level to the next. Yes. And so we started talking about skills. Okay? And you and I we are deep in some areas, but we're also kind of broad, because we know a lot about a little and then a little about a lot, if that makes sense. So I was talking about it as in the volume of knowledge that you have versus, how much depth you have in one specific topic, because you can get very deep in one specific topic, and that's great. But in order to really like move up to the senior level and, to the principal level, you've got to not only have that depth in multiple areas, you also have to have spread out from that depth.
Exactly.
And breadth, and be able to. You don't have to be an expert in AWS and GCP and Azure. Be an expert in one and be familiar enough in the others.
Exactly.
That you can talk about it.
This is almost the whole cloud. When we're talking about the cloud stuff that we're doing, this is pretty much the name of the game for being with the cloud. You don't have to be the expert in everything. You have to be familiar with we have to be, for sure. You got to pick something over here, otherwise want to keep your job if that's your work. But you don't even if it's just interest, even if you're a manager level, you just got to know what things are, what's happening out there, and you just need to know how to find it and what you need to keep up with, basically.
Yeah. So going through this list, the Microsoft Build, go through this list, find 2 things on it that interest you, and dig deeper.
Yes.
Because this is just a high level, just a little bit of stuff going on here, but dig deeper, like the Azure Form Recognizer.
Right.
What is that? That looks like that's cool.
Yes.
That I bet that's something that I can give it forms and it can pull data out of it. I actually had a client recently that man, if I'd had this and known about this, that could have saved me a lot of work.
Indeed.
Just know, I don't have to know enough about it to be able to implement it at that point. I need to know enough about it to know that it exists. That's the key.
Exactly. All right, so that's just the icon. Just let me go through some of these over here. Let's see, Azure Form Recognizer, Azure Metrics Advisor. Some of these, like, are like really deep into the place. I mean, here's the thing. Look at this. They're talking about even down to the mechanics of this. I don't know why someone's complaining necessarily. Well, actually, I do understand it, because if they've seen it before and there was less of the low code back in the day, because, I mean, technically speaking, back then, it wasn't ready yet. A lot of those things weren't ready. It was just
right.
It was still more of, compared to what we had to do, more of a toy. Now it's not so much. So it makes sense that they push it.
Production. Yeah.
All right, but there's still enough going on. And these other, container apps, one of my favorite topics here. Let's see. I'm just looking at the Azure stuff. We're just looking here. Azure Spring apps.
We're still deep in Azure.
Yeah, we're still deep in Azure. We haven't even left Azure yet. And we're going over here. Oh, what's this over here? I'm seeing over here Azure Spring Apps. Azure Spring Apps Enterprise tier includes commercially supported Spring runtime. So Spring, there's a thing.
Right, Spring Boot. Do you remember Spring Boot from PCF? Right, Pivotal Cloud Foundry.
Yep, there we go.
Spring came out of Java. There's Seal Toe is the .NET implementation of Spring.
Yes.
And Spring apps are big.
That's right.
And here we go. Here's a fully managed service that can run your Spring apps.
Right. Now, and here's the thing. It's like, once this is done and set up, I mean, it might have taken quite a bit of expertise to get going. The whole point of these kind of systems is when you have to make a change, the maintenance is like reduced heavily. Yeah. The testing,
it's
all
somebody
those
else's job to keep the system running.
Yes.
Right? You want to run the platform as a service. You want to concentrate on solving your problems, not maintaining, your solution.
So, yes. Look at this. Autoscalers are a good example. It's like when you used to basically have to have people just watching carefully and like looking at monitors. Oh no, it's scaling.
Or roll your own, right?
Roll your own scaling, right? And then like hope that it doesn't fall apart. It's like, wow.
Or go off the rails and cost you $1,000 a day, because it overscales. It's great.
Hey, check it out. Google Remote Procedure Call support. That's big. Oh, this is major.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. What are they doing working with the Google folks? What are they thinking? What are they thinking? They're thinking that we all have to communicate, and this is why the metaverse is not quite there yet. We talked about that. Is because now in the global cloud internet where things really have to talk to each other, they can't fight all the time. They have to stop and say, all right, we're going to be civil. We're going to make this work.
So gRCP is something that would work similarly to React, not React. Oh, never mind. I lost it. There is a.
It is an R. It is R. Is it called R? It's called.
No, but there's a competing way of doing this real-time communication.
Yes, for real-time stuff.
And I lost it. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's all right. We'll get there. It's in fact, it was one that Microsoft was pushing a lot. That here's the fact that they're moving towards this. Here, the thing I like about Microsoft is like they will take not so much there's not taking an L in any way, shape, or form, because if you actually it's a win in a lot of cases. They will come to a point where like, okay, this is the way, and it's fine. We're not going to scream about it. We're not going to go to a blog and say, we had to do this, because they don't cry about it. There's no crying in baseball, and they go straight to it. They get it done.
You're not even a third of the way down yet.
No, look at this. I'm still here in Azure.
Server.
I'm still here in SQL Server, which Azure Synapse. Okay, we're talking data.
But we're still in Azure.
We're still in Azure, technically speaking, but now we're in the data side of things.
Right? I mean, what is not cloud anymore?
No.
So are we ever going to leave Azure?
No.
I don't know.
It's here. Let's see. SQL Server Enterprise. It's still talking about some of the stuff that's on-prem, but they talk about it in vis-a-vis the cloud. Whatever you got on-prem, hey, you're not sitting there by yourself. Chances are you're dealing with the cloud.
Yep.
Oh, and Nginx.
Cool.
Integrated software service, advanced traffic management. Yeah, that was one of our topics at
Y'all
one time.
tokens, JWTs, yeah.
Dum, dum, dum.
Migration,
What do we got here?
DevOps. Oh, now we're into DevOps.
Now we're into DevOps. Okay. Developer tools and DevOps. Yes, which is, again, one of our favorite topics.
Yes.
We were calling it that before it was fashionable, and an old boss of ours used to be like, don't use that word. There's no such thing. It's like, yeah, there is.
Well, and see, we need to get Drew back on and talk about DevSecOps because.
Oh, well, if Drew can talk without any secrecy or NDA, no problem.
Yeah.
Did you see Drew got a new job, by the way?
I did see that. That was.
See that? We're gonna invite Drew back. So Drew's gonna tell me what I should be doing with my money for sure. Now I can ask. I think maybe I can actually ask that from Drew, because he knows where the policies are being set.
Community, right?
Yes.
These are all of our learning resources. Speaking of learning and teaching.
Here it is. I wanted to get to this, especially. Look at that. Learn cloud games. Right. Readiness zone, exam readiness, cybersecurity, architect expert. These are
so
very.
You know,
yeah,
did you know that right now there is that Microsoft has a set of things exercises and things that you can go through, that if you go through them before the end of this month, they'll give you a free certification. Did you know that?
Yeah, that I knew. I was going to. I think I'm going to roll down and find it over here. It's actually over here. And it should be in here in the book of news, but that's right. But wait a minute, careful. What they mean by certification, they mean you can take the test.
Yes, you can take the test.
It doesn't mean you pass it, but you can take the test. They're not going to just say, "Oh, you did this. Here's a badge."
No.
They'll give you a badge, by the way. They will give you a badge when you finish one of your learning things. You get badges, and you can display your badges, but it's not a certification. You still have to pass the test.
Pass the test. You don't have to take the test at the end of the month.
That's right.
You have, I think through.
I think 6 months or the end of the year or something like that.
It's either 6 or 18 months. You get a long time.
You get a long time to do it.
Immediate thing. So
I'm just going through some of these updates over here. I wish we can have someone to talk about Figma. So this is, by the way, this is all this collaborative design. This collaborative apps is where the low code stuff is all about. And a lot of these are again, these are based out of very high code stuff under the covers.
Yeah.
And they're brought in so that they're not there.
I'll see if I can get Jeff, one of the designers that I know, to come in and talk to us about Figma, because Figma is really cool, and we've not done anything on Figma.
No, this is actually really cool. So that one I'd like to cover. Here's SAP doing stuff on there. SAP is really hard to show without showing secrets.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Now we're in my world here. My Power Platform, Learn Hub, Pro Develop, and of course, Pro. And again, I know Microsoft likes to say Pro Developer. I have to say that if you're developing and you're in business, you're a pro. You're a professional. It's everything we do is professional. And when is it not professional? Well, when we're doing it for fun. It's a game. We're an amateur. So I would say that there would be two kinds of tools then: pro developer and amateur developer, right? Because otherwise, everyone's a pro. The only an amateur developer is the one that's not. It's not doing it for money. So maybe because isn't that what you used to call amateurs? No, you know what? Amateurs make money now too.
Yeah.
So look for that.
Everyone's a pro. Everyone's a pro.
Right, and the amateurs are actually sometimes as good as the pros. So wait a minute.
We're going to bless everyone. No, I think
everyone's a pro.
Pro developer tools are tools that you pay for as opposed to community developer tools.
Yes.
That doesn't sound right either. I don't know.
Okay. So and now of course we have Windows and Edge, the Edge computer. Here's the 11 stuff. And by the way, i11, if it's still on your machine right now, the countdown has begun.
12 days.
The countdown has begun. It's coming. Goodbye, i11. We hardly knew you. All right. And then, so I got to the bottom. I got to the bottom of things. You know what I wanted to show you really quick? The Quickie app. Right? Remember I said how fast?
Yeah.
Remember I talked about starting point. And they said, I want to do a hello world in high code. Well, in high code, chances are I'd find a template that already has all the pieces. or I go to Google, download it, and then I have to put it into my GitHub. Maybe I have to configure a few things. And in a few minutes, because I have to configure it, right? Because it has to be out for the world, and it has to be out for the enterprise for everyone to see. I still have to, at the very least, configure something. So, high code or not, there's probably some
set the
pieces
environment up. Yeah.
Right. So let me go ahead and just like right off the bat here, showing you what I mean by how fast something gets done over here. It's asking, everything's freshened over here. So it's this concept of like, I make a new connection to go somewhere. And that's how fast it goes. But let me make something. I'm actually going to make it even simpler than that. Start from a SharePoint list. Watch this. I'm going to do this again. All right. Yes, it keeps asking me from a SharePoint list. I want to connect to, right off the bat, SharePoint. All right. I can go and find a site. So let me go find a site over here. And I can find a list. So there's my car list over there. I just pick it. Watch this. Look, Mon, no hands. I just click, 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 click. Hold on a second. 2 seconds.
Are you
3
having
seconds.
to draw all those lines? I mean,
You can see me. I'm going like this right over here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to skip this. I could have just skipped this. But look at this. I essentially have an app all ready to go. Let me hit the play button. And here's my app. Here are my cars. Right?
It looks like that's a phone. Is that a phone?
That's a phone. That's already ready for a phone.
Oh, goodness.
It's already ready for a phone. So I can go over here. I can pick my door types. Okay, I wanted to make it an SUV. Wait, a Mustang's not an SUV. So, hey, what's not here? High code person? Hello, high code person. What's wrong with my app right off the bat? There was no validation that said a Mustang can't have freaking 4 doors or whatever. So that could have been a validation thing that could have been added as a service in the back to help me. But off the bat, I can make my car list and I can change it. I'm gonna I'm gonna call it a Ralph because and it's gonna be a Mustang. I'm gonna call it Mustang. Hold on, Mustang Sally. Here we go. All right, and there's my edit. I'm gonna hit the checkbox. Let's hit the check. Here it goes. It's updating. It's the first time it's communicating. If I don't have permission to do it, but I did it. There it is. The car is Mustang Sally. So let me go back to my car list. And it's probably in there. There's my Ralph Mustang Sally ready to go. Right? I can refresh it to see if there's updates. I can go sort it. It looks like I can sort this list. Right? I can search for stuff. So I can search for Ralph. And it should. There we go. Wait a minute. This app is all ready to go. I didn't have to go in and edit anything. And then right off the bat, let me close it out. And then I'm going to just make this app, and I'm going to, let's say I'm going to save it. Oh, I can do, here's my diagnostic checks. Here's my app checker. Go ahead and just check. Oh, accessibility. Oh,
accessibility rules.
I got to clean these rules, all right? So I guess I have a little bit of work, but that's pretty much creating, like what kind of accessibility do I want to do du jour? And even that's going to go away, by the way. So I've just checked my app. I'm all good. And then I can say share with other users right off the bat. Save it to Power Apps. So it just reminded me to save. I'm going to say car app, my car app. Okay. And then there we go. I'm going to save it to the cloud straight up, or I can save it to my computer and share it with Larry.
And then I can open that up, and it'll just
and then
work.
You just have it. It'll just connect. Then now I can share it with people. So I go over here. I'm going to share my car app, right? And I can just put in names over here. I wonder if Adele is in here. Yep, Adele Vance is in there, right? And I can say, yep, data permissions. It does that for me. I'm going to make Adele a co-owner, and let's share it. And done. Go. Now Adele can use it. And wait a minute, did she have to pay anything? All permissions were saved successfully. I'm all done. Wait a minute, and there's my data. There's my and everything else. What else? I got my versions. Here's my connections in use. It's a SharePoint. Here's my analytics. Well, of course, nothing used yet.
How many people are using it?
That's right. There's Power BI. It's going to be coming in. Any flows that are involved? There are none. All right. See, I can play SharePoint, add to Teams. I can monitor it. I can, what else? Let me go into, I got it. Let me go. And then I can play it right off the bat over here. Here's my web link. I can put it in the web.
Very cool.
How long did that take?
It did not take very long.
It did not take very long. I want to add, so I want to edit it, so I want to do something different. So maybe I want to go in here, and it keeps doing this. Override, yeah, fine. Oh, it opened up a new page on it. So I was over here because I was here in share. Oh, because I see it opened up in share. So fine and well. That's why it asked me again. But let me see about getting things ready over here. But I can just probably go back over here and do an edit. So say I'll take a look at this piece over here. And look, see over here how I have all my components over here. So there's my gallery that I'm looking at. There's my detail screen. And maybe there's a rectangle that's here somewhere. I wonder if I have the header over here, the header bar. Right? Yeah. So if there's any components, there's no components in this one. This is very, very simple. See, and it has just the names, the search icon. I want to change any of these things. I can go ahead and just use pieces over here. But let's say, for example, I go. There's got to be something over here. This is the label. Here's the action bars. Okay, so I go to the action bar. You see that? On select, nothing happens. But yep. I could go ahead and change, say, the hover fill color. So when I hover on it, self hover fill, right, equals. So let's give it a red. Oh, nope, doesn't like what I did. Self hover fill. So hold on a second. Let's go ahead. And this is a type color. So right now it's just self fill is what, right. That's just a variable, right? So I just type in red, and actually red, and I'm done. Okay, so how does that work? Let's go see what happens when I hit play. Nothing happened because it can't see the app. So all I'm doing is I'm just playing around. Let me just move this down a little bit, and let's see if the hover will work. Did you see that hover working? But did you see how I troubleshoot that? It's like, I went over there, hey, that didn't work. I tried to do this, and why isn't my low code working? It's like, well, the low code does not mean no code, does not mean no knowledge. Low code still have to know something. So I happen, as a developer, to know that if I have an object on top of another object, chances are I'm not going to affect the object underneath. That came as my developer skill, maybe not as a person skill. But as a person skill, if I give you some of these basic rules, if you have something on top of something, you can't see the thing below or can touch it. Oh, that's logical. I don't need to be a coder to know that. I just be a human that when I have two things stacked up on top of each other, why can't I touch the thing underneath? Well, and it's like, wow, I'm able to do it. Yay, you're a coder now. You've just officially became a developer. How does it feel? Go to Disneyland. Yes. There we go. So, but did you see how quick that was? And then that was the code I wrote. The code is here. And this code could have been a function of something. I could have concatenated, encoded. I could have pointed to something. I could have, I could go and make a formula that does something, some fancy business rule that says, if I've earned $1,000 and I'm looking at the car that's called Ralph and my mouse is in this position exactly, turn red. Sure, I could have done that. Is that the requirement? No, but hey, why not? Right? Yep. That's how fast.
Very cool. Well, thank you for the demo there, and I think we had a good talk.
We had a good talk. We went through a whole bunch of stuff.
You were saying earlier that next week you're going to be out. You're going to be in another country.
Yes, I will be here.
You'll be at
the Scottish Summit. Me and my bad Scottish accent. I shall be here.
Nice.
Yes, here we go. Let's go see. Let's go find my session over here if I can find it. Oh yes. So here we go. Let's go look at sessions. Let's go see. Does it have a search with actually showing you? So I'm actually on Saturday over here. And Saturday, this is by time. This is, by the way, I can go to Glasgow time. There we go, showing you.
Control F, you can search on the page, find yourself.
Yeah, of course. There we go. Let's go down there.
There you go. Admin in an hour. an espresso shot of Power Platform Admin and the COE Starter Kit.
That's right. This refreshed because of the stuff you saw. Remember
Very
earlier
cool.
that thing on build? Well, that changed. I have to, that basically said, I keep making a joke online that says, hey, we got to redo our slides. Yeah, because they basically changed everything. There's my course right over there. If you happen to be in Glasgow on that day, drop one in. It's I think it's only a small donation to the community to come in to do it. To come see us in person, say hi, say I saw you in the Cloud Talk Show, or somewhere else. That's okay. Come on in. But yes, that is me next week.
So one thing that I will say before we head out,
Yep.
if you've stayed this long and haven't subscribed yet, we not ever ask people to subscribe.
We're now asking you to subscribe.
We're not going to ask you to subscribe, please.
Please.
We've got
We're beginning to track it.
shows.
You're like, okay, fine,
Yeah.
we'll track it.
Just
Yeah.
That's it though. That's all.
That's all. That's all. We're gonna maybe ask Raquel. Maybe do I have a button at the end of our link somewhere in YouTube? If there's a way to do that, we're gonna ask her to help us figure that out. But we probably were going to do that at the end. We're going to put that little thing that when it's over, you click here to subscribe. You know. That's right. So we got to do that. But in live streams, maybe we should have also a subscribe. What do you think? In the beginning. So
Also,
yes,
sorry,
I'm
no one can hear
noticing
me
that.
say that.
Yes, a lot of people will be saying that usually, and when they start their shows, like, well, before we even tell you anything, we're going to make you wait because we're going to tell you to subscribe right now, and and our sponsor, and yeah, you're waiting before the show starts. Yeah, too bad. It's free.
Yeah, if you make it this long, go ahead.
If you're making this long,
all right.
we didn't bug you in the beginning, so
All right.
because
Well,
we didn't want to interrupt your
everyone
pleasure.
have a wonderful weekend, and be safe, travel well.
Absolutely, will do. Off to Scotland.
Bye.
And coming back. Oh, there's some people traveling. Yay.